they told us we had the time to say goodbye to her while she was still alive.
And then during that time, your parents showed up, right?
Is after loss.
Actually, it's
After Olivia.
Yeah, after Olivia died, my parents came that
Okay.
night. Yeah, they came.
Because they had to travel.
Yeah, so they came in late Saturday night, and Olivia had passed away at about 1:30. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, he was asking about Jane, about support, about who was there at the hospital and the support.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jane and Jane George and Dave were just, it just fit at the right exact moment. And when Brian made that call, they got in the car and they were there for us. And that's God too. It's like he's a pastor of a church. This church he was at the time of, well over 400 congregation or higher maybe at that time. I don't know, but you know how busy a pastor is, and it is so random that it's like you just like that's God. There's God. It's like it slaps you across the face, and it's amazing when He shows Himself to you, and He says, "Here I am." And it was amazing. And Dave and Jane did an amazing service to us just by being there. Dave married us in the Rose Garden in downtown Sacramento across from the convention center in 2008. And for him to preside over officially over Olivia and what he did on the video, you saw a portion of it, you didn't see the whole thing. It was what we needed. It was exactly what we needed at the exact time that we needed it. And all we had to do was just be there. And our hearts to be open and our ears open to hear and our eyes open to visualize what God is presenting before us.
And that's who David and Jane, for people that don't know, we went to this church for 20 years, and David and Jane were our pastors. And I can attest to everything that Jeff and Toni are saying about David and Jane. Just a side note, when my dad passed away, I'd called David to come and be with us, the family. He was there. And the same thing with my mom. And again, like Jeff alluded to, he was a very busy pastor, but he was never too busy to take care of not only his flock. Jeff and Toni didn't really even go to the church, but yet he married him, and he was there for you guys for this unfortunate event. But it's just the incredibility of this man and his wife that just love people. I've never met anybody since, to be honest. As pastors, they were incredible. And to this day, we all miss them. That's just a side note, but it was so cool. When I got to preview a little bit of this, I saw about a 20-minute version. And when David read the 23rd Psalm, I was in tears. But it is true that God brings along those who we need at the time. And that was the neat thing for Toni and Jeff. I don't think we could have had, you guys could have had anybody better than David and Jane. He had the words to say and the comfort, and just gives you that peace that you need at the time. So continue just to tell us a little bit about the staff that was in the hospital. There was Suzanne, Jodine, and Lisa. If you could just share a little bit about that.
We could not have asked for a better medical team. And again, this was not planned. We did not plan to go to Sacramento, and we ended up there. And it was just amazing how cohesive they were and supportive, and they were just really respectful of our wishes. And even whether, we don't know if they agreed with our decision or not, but they supported us, and that was just amazing. And we've been in touch with them ever since. I mean, not so much Dr. Bay, but with Suzanne, and she was my labor and delivery nurse. And then Jodine was one of the nurses in NICU. And Lisa is a NICU child life specialist, so whenever families come in, she's kind of like a liaison and works closely with the families. And so after Olivia passed, she was the one that arranged for the memory box to be put together, and that's kind of their department, is that they do all these remembrance things for the babies that pass away. They just have been very crucial or important in our story. Like, that's when we think of her birth, that's very much it's Suzanne, and there's also a Janessa who's my night nurse, but she wasn't there at the time of the delivery, and there is Jolene and Lisa. So it's just, they just work so well, and just I think they just gave us space to be the parents and make the choice for ourselves, and that was very important.
That's great.
Yeah, for us. Yeah.
I mean, it's essentially the same thing. I would just say that the hearts of the staff and what we experienced was exactly what we needed. Like, we couldn't have asked for anything different, and we wouldn't have asked for anything different. Their hearts were in the right place, and Suzanne Griffith, she's the main nurse, L&D nurse for the high-risk pregnancy that we've stayed in touch with over the years through Facebook mainly. But when she found out that Olivia was born and in the NICU on our 5th wedding anniversary, that crushed her. She became overwhelmed with emotion for us, and it's like, you know, when you see someone that's that transparent and that in touch with their emotions and goes there quickly when they feel other people hurting, it grabbed my attention quickly. And I specifically remember one instance with her. Toni was just coming into the parents' room. Olivia was still in the NICU, still being prepped in order to come in so that we could spend time with David and Jane George. And we're walking into the room, and Toni, I guess Toni was still bleeding. Let's just put it out there. She was still bleeding, and Suzanne goes, "Oh dear, let me get that." And this is something I like to share because it's totally not of me, it's not from me, it's not by me, but it's a result of the experience of the position in which you've been thrusted into. I said, "No, I've got it. I will clean it. I will wipe it off of her leg." And it's like, I don't know if I would have done that if I would have known this was all going to happen, and this is where we're going to be, and this is what's going to happen, and oh, that's gross, I'm not touching that. It's like, it was just instant. Like, I wanted to do it. I wanted to cleanse my wife. And later on, Suzanne got emotional during the time that David and Jane were around and we were in the room, and she got overwhelmed with emotion, and she had to leave the room. It all was just starting to add up. From when she found out it was our 5th wedding anniversary to us getting prepped and ready, and the experience that she had with us, right?
Yeah.
Not because we're great people, not because we're amazing people and we just did everything right. That wasn't it at all. It's because of God, right? You know? And she left the room, and my immediate feeling was to go after her and to tell her that she is loved. And to tell her thank you. To tell her that we are grateful for what she's doing for our family, what she's providing. So I went and found her, and there was other staff around, and I just gave her a big hug. And I told her, I said, "Thank you so much for everything that you are doing for us and who you are as a person." You have no idea what you're doing for us. And those are the moments that are beyond me and beyond myself, beyond I don't gain anything. I don't get anything from doing that. But I hope and I pray that she was loved and felt that way, because we all deserve that.
You guys definitely had a great staff. You know, that's awesome. I'm going to move on Saturday, which was October 5th, 2013, when it was time to say your final goodbyes to Olivia. Please tell us how you were able to finally let go and release Olivia to go home to be with the Lord.
Yeah, I think that was kind of going back to seeing the sparrow on the ceiling. That was, at least for me, that was the moment where I felt that we were going to let her go. And at one point after she was born, the NICU had worked on her, and they came to us and told us basically the stats of all her test results, and that the blood toxicity was too high, and even if they were to sustain her, it was so high that there was nothing that they could do. And so at that point, I remember looking to Jeff and just saying, you know what, we need to let her go now. We need to let her go home. And so then they arranged for us to have that private room, and they brought her in, and she was still hooked up to all the machines and everything. And then later on, they took the life support off.
Was this the private room that we saw in the video?
Yes, yeah. We stayed in that room.
On Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 5th.
Mm-hmm. It must have been great to have both sets of parents. Of course, your parents came in later, but to have your whole family there. Can you share a little bit about what that was like to share that experience with your parents?
Yeah, my parents thankfully were able to come down, but being from, Saskatchewan, they had very limited flight choices. So unfortunately, they couldn't fly out until Saturday morning from Saskatoon. And so they would not arrive till about 9 or 10 at night. And so at that point, I remember my parents, we were trying to keep them updated as to what was going on. And so I remember them sharing when they heard that they were in the airport when Olivia was born, and so they were rejoicing knowing that she was alive. And then I'm not sure at what point where they were when they got the message that Olivia had passed. And so I'm thankful that they were able to come. I wish that they could have come earlier, but it just wasn't so. But it was special to have that time with them. Two of my greatest memories was with my mom. And there's a picture of her that we saw today. It was her holding Olivia, and she was combing her hair. And I remember I was kind of in this little bathroom, and I was washing my face, and my mom goes, "Tone, where's your comb?" And I go, "Here we go." I'm thinking my mom's going to comb her hair because they'd just gotten there, and she's holding Olivia. And so I gave her my comb, and before I know it, she starts combing Olivia's hair. And my sisters had told me, Mom kind of has a thing with that, her being a nurse, that whenever she knows that a patient is near the end, she likes to comb their hair. So that was a memory of my mom. And then we'd spend some time with JD, Sherry, and my mom and dad in the room and with Olivia. And my mom started singing to her. And we didn't get that on recording, but it was a very special memory, and especially now that because my mom had passed away the next year on her birthday, and so on Olivia's birthday, and so just having those two memories with Olivia, and it's very special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is for both of you. You have said that your lives have changed forever. Would you please share what that means for each one of you?
I think for me that it changed because I suddenly have, I guess, just a different perspective, as to how I see things. She kind of opened my eyes to what a gift and how fragile life can be, and that we can be called home at any time. And that no matter how short or long your life is, every life is important and is special, and every life has a purpose. And so I think because now that we have this part of our story, we also have been set on this path that we did not plan to be on, and we've met amazing people, and amazing opportunities have been presented to us. And so because of both of those combined, I think we are at a completely different place in life that we did not plan to be 5 years ago. So the fact that we're here in front of you today is probably a result of that. And the choices that we've made in the last couple of years, and how we want to move forward is a result of that. And we just know now that we just want to help others that are walking a similar road. And because we've been through what we've been through, we know that there's not a lot of support in this area. So that's why we feel like we want to move in that direction. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great.
I'd say for me, it's I'm still changing. I don't think it's ever going to end. At least it doesn't seem like God wants to let go of me. So he's got one more thing to teach me. I remember telling neighbors. I remember when Chris from Idaho or something like that. Chris and his son lived next door to us in the two-story house next door to us. I just remember just telling them, I just feel different. I'm changed. I just know I am. Like, life is completely different. Priorities, I was career focused. I had been at the convention center for, I believe, 6 years at that time, and I was very successful in what I was doing. I had a lot of room to create and make it my own, and I had it dialed in, and everything was going great. And I was really focused on the money. I was really focused on where do I go from here. What's my next move into a corporate company from a mom and pop company that I've already achieved the top. I can't go any further. I'm not moving to San Diego. Didn't want to. And then it all changed. Not that it all came crumbling down. It's very interesting. It just changed. Like, you shift gears, and instead of continuing to go up, you just go sideways. You go sideways for a bit until you start to figure it out and start getting your footing again. But another way that I describe it is that I am just not in control. I can't be. I can't be in control like I wanted to be. And God keeps on showing me new things. He keeps on changing. We've had a lot. We've dealt with a lot in the last 5 years. My focus, a lot of things that Toni and I have talked about, we didn't even know right away that we wanted to do something with it. We started sharing parents pretty much within 6 months of Olivia being born and gone. Sharing Parents of Sacramento is all about pregnancy and infant loss. We joined them. We've become volunteers. I'm a facilitator. Toni's also a facilitator for monthly grief support. We do that so many times a year based on all the other volunteers that are in it too. And I also facilitate for Navigating Grief, a specific 4-week series that couples start and finish with each other. So every week they meet up and 2 people, sometimes 3 people facilitate on how to navigate through grief, how to walk through grief? What is it, and how do I connect what I'm thinking with what I'm feeling, and live my life out? So I have personally seen a need for men. A lot of guys are like, okay, when is she gonna stop crying? When is she gonna stop focusing on the loss? When is she gonna get over it? And it's like, man, never.
Yeah.
And I knew that. It's just because of the way I'm built and who I am and how I see life, how I see life and understand it to be. I knew the answer was it ain't gonna. It's not ever. A loss is a loss is a loss, and it's to the day that we go home and see the Lord and see our loved ones that are lost before us. And it was just an eye-opening experience, and it has been ongoing. We've been with Sharing Parents for almost 4 years now, and volunteering for 3+, and it's just an eye-opening experience to see the need for men out there that don't necessarily see life through the same lenses that I do.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other guys like me too, and it's amazing to see those guys come through the group. But they're just the few and not the many. It's and a lot of partners do not come.
Wow.
The men stay home in most cases. So we knew, and we talked about it probably over a year ago. I said I really want to do something where we can create a men's group of some sort and reach them as well. So God, through a unique opportunity with the NICU Family Alliance, I went to a meeting over a year ago, November, and got connected. I was there for Sharing Parents, helping out, and Toni and I have since then ended up becoming volunteers with the NICU Family Alliance. And the most random thing happened. The gal, Lisa Beauchamp, that runs it, she came along and said, I'm thinking of starting a NICU men's. Would you be interested in being a part of that? I'm like, yeah, sign me up. So I'll leave it at that. But it's very interesting to see where God just like point blank says, here I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't, like it's, wow. Yeah, it's like, thank you. And it's what my heart needs. It's not what I need as a person. That's not it at all. I'm not looking for a prize, not looking for a name. I want two things. I want men to know that they're loved. And that's a weird thing to say to a guy in our society. It does not, it's in church, it's very acceptable. Outside of church, it's weird. But men are human too. And these guys need to know that they're loved. They need to know what love is.
Well, just to, like you said though, there's a need out there.
Yeah.
If they're not showing up, there's a reason why.
Yeah.
They can't relate.
Right. Oh, so this is a cool thing. So I told Tony, I said, we should just do a camp, a men's camp. Get them all under one roof. Just, get them in like a herd of cattle. And I mentioned it at the first sit down with Lisa Beauchamp for the NICU Family Alliance. I said, I told her straight up, and she knows I'm Christian. I told her, eventually it came out, I told her, I said, it's about love. Guys need to know what love is. They need to understand what it means to be compassionate, to surrender, to love. But I said, these guys need to get under one roof. And I said, let's do a camp. And she goes, I was telling my husband about that today. She goes, a men's camp. So I don't know. We'll see what becomes of it. But we're developing the program right now, and she's asked me to co-write it, which is very interesting because that's not my background. That's not where I come from. But that's what this is all about. It's about the fork of the road and choosing to go in the direction that the Holy Spirit is leading us. Which, glory be to God.
Yeah. Amen. I want to go back just for a second, because there's, I want people to know one thing about you guys. There was 3 events that happened on that day, October 5th. Could you guys just share kind of briefly, but those 3 events?
Well, the first event happened 10 years ago. Most of you were there. Is our wedding, right? Is that what you're talking about?
No.
Oh.
No. The 3 events that happened on October 5th.
So Olivia's birth, death, and then
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Well, your anniversary too, right?
Well, our anniversary, right?
I just want them to share with you why October 5th. Every October 5th that comes around, it really hits them even more so because of the different events. There's really 4, I believe.
Yep.
There's the anniversary, there's the birth, the death, and then Marilyn, a year ago, an hour into, on October 5th, 2014,
Yeah.
her mother passed away 1 hour into what would have been Olivia's first birthday.
And our 6th wedding anniversary.
Yes. So I just kind of wanted people to know, because that's, to me, it's not just one event that they have to endure in a sense, but it's several. So I just wanted to bring that up. And then I didn't want to take away from what Jeff was saying, but I also wanted to go back just for a minute, because I had this written down, and this to me is major. I know he's been a blessing to us, but God has blessed you with little James, and I just want you to share how much of a blessing that he's been to you guys, especially after the loss of Olivia Hope.
Well, mine's short and simple. I always tell people that he's the blessing that we would have selfishly demanded from God after all that we've gone through. It was Olivia was born a year later. Marilyn mom, Tony's mom passed away 2 months later in December. We found out we had our first miscarriage, 7 weeks, and then James, we found out we were pregnant with him in June, and 9 months later, 8.5 months later, like there was no tomorrow, or like there was no issue whatsoever, was born. And it was just done. And here he is, and he's just absolutely amazing.
Yes, I remember before I found out I was pregnant, and it was just after I had my miscarriage and just feeling completely stuck and not really. I had a long recovery from that miscarriage, and so I felt like I was stuck in a rut for a really long time. And so when we found out we were pregnant, that was actually kind of a surprise to me. We weren't anticipating that to happen at that time. And so I had somewhat felt a peace about this pregnancy and that things were going to be okay. However, I did have a lot of anxiety over this. And so I had a lot of just fear of, something's going to happen, he won't survive, and maybe he'll be stillborn. It's every phase of the pregnancy, there was always some kind of new worry or fear that came up. And there's a couple times I ended up in the hospital because I kind of freaked out about something and wanted to get it checked out, and kind of caused further complications. And but when he finally was here, actually, even then, he had a bit of a complication. He had to be in NICU for 24 hours because he had a fever, because I had a fever, and I couldn't see him for about a day. They wouldn't let me see him because I still had a fever. And so, there's always something. But yeah, absolutely, James has been very much a joy in our lives and just brings us so much happiness. And he in no way replaces Olivia, but he just has eased some of the pain. And it's really neat to see him now at this stage. He recognizes his sister and calls her baby sister because he sees her as a baby, but knows that she's his sister, and calls her in his own cute way Olivia, but it sounds more cute than that. So, we'll just keep talking about her and sharing with him that he has a sister, that one day he'll see her again. And I don't know what that will mean for him later on. He could have a hard time understanding that, but we'll just keep walking him through that.
I hear it so many times. So many people say that the grief is so different for a child versus someone that has lived and you've known for decades or multiple decades, and it is so true. There's times where I wake up in the middle of the night and I panic. I have to go check to see if he's still breathing, and there's nothing wrong. There's nothing that should cause that. And grief is interesting in that way. It randomly shows itself and in uncontrollable ways for instant, and then all of a sudden that controls back and everything's normal, but it flashes in your mind, that panic, because of what you've been through.
Sure.
So I can attest to that. Sense of no control, right? And that can either be a comforting thing if you're trusting in God and everything's everything's solid that way, or it can be anxiety.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just so you know, I mean, James has been a blessing to all of us, so we just need to have him in the family. So.
Unfortunately, he loves his brother Brian, his Uncle Brian, more than his dad. Yeah, yeah.